My mom comes and she comes to my side and she said, "It's not your time and you need to fight." And when she said the word
Mm.
fight, now I'm in my room and above my bed come all of these passed on ancestors wearing white, all white. And they're all above my bed. And so they're all there and they start chanting, "Fight, fight,
Wow.
fight."
You are listening to 5 a.m. podcast. Your morning motivation starts here.
Welcome back to the 5 a.m. podcast, the place where we wake up our potential, elevate your mindset, and provide that strategic blueprint to build a life and business of true impact. I'm your host, Michael Klassen. Now, if you're new to the show or maybe you've been running with us for a little while, could you please do us a quick favor? Hit that follow or subscribe button on your favorite listening platform. It just takes a couple seconds, but it helps us to continue bringing you world-class guests straight to your earbuds every single week. Now, today's conversation is going to change the way I think that you look at business, life, and legacy. Our guest is a force of nature, Dr. Holly Porter, who is a transformational leader, a 17-time best-selling author, and a powerhouse founder behind 12 successful startup companies. As the visionary behind the International Retreat Association, she is completely rewriting the playbook on global leadership gatherings. But Holly's massive success isn't just built on a grind strategy. It's forged in resilience after surviving a harrowing 70-day, that's 70, ladies and gentlemen, near-death experience with the COVID-19. She came back with a divine clarity. Today, she uses her signature shift framework to teach high-performing leaders how to flawlessly blend spiritual alignment with hard-hitting business principles. She's also the founder of the Adventure Bucket Wish Foundation, empowering women to lead with purpose, passion, and presence. Holly, welcome to the 5am podcast.
Thanks for having me, Michael. Happy to be here.
Well, yes, great to have you here. And we got to start off with those 70 days fighting for your life. Those situations really bring a new perspective, clarity, perhaps, or other emotions and life assignments, maybe. Most people might look at a crisis as a detour, but you've described it as a divine calling. Can you take us back to that hospital room and what that exact moment of realization and definition was for you?
Oh, yeah. Well, there were several. When you're laying there literally dying and you're thinking, gosh, how did I live my life? And was I enough? Did I do enough? Did I serve enough? Am I enough? Do I have a legacy? Wait, what is my legacy? Am I leaving a legacy? There's so many thoughts going through my mind and really defining. I had lots of out of body experiences while I was in there. First 3.5 weeks out of the 70 days in the first hospital were all of them. So out of body, I had a spiritual transformative experience and a near death experience. And those, I was in a coma a lot of that time that they would induce me because I was so sick. And when you can't breathe and you lose your breath, that's everything. And I remember the nurses asking my sisters who were there with me because my husband, I had brought COVID home to him. So he couldn't even come to the hospital for 3.5 weeks, which was the whole time, 2 intubations, trachea, sepsis, other life infections that I was having that were worse than COVID, actually. Um, and so with the day I got the trachea was the first day he could even come see me. And he was so sick, he could only stay a couple hours. And I was so sad, because that's your support system. But I had two twin sisters just younger than me that like stayed 24/7. They just rotated around the clock. And once in a while I'd have somebody else, but I could have one person every 24 hours, which was a miracle because before that, people were dying alone. They couldn't have anyone,
Yeah.
which is why I think they died.
Yeah.
I think I would have died without them there. I think that support system not only helped the medical accountability, and there, but just knowing someone's there with you that you actually know, and because it was a scary feeling,
Yes.
really, really
And
scary.
so when you were induced into the coma, could you hear what was going on around you in the hospital room?
Funny, I get asked that all the time.
Okay.
The only thing that I can remember that I can like kind of parallel go, oh, I must have been in a coma when I knew that. My
Uh-huh.
sister Jill, we all three of us do real estate, and she was buying an Airbnb. And some of my out of body experiences were like created around that, like what I
Oh,
heard her
okay.
talking and doing these, because I didn't find out she was buying this other Airbnb property until, oh, I would say 2 to 3 months later. Like,
Wow.
I didn't
Okay.
even know about it till, like, I was out of the hospital, and we were actually buying another home because when I went in the hospital, we had a house under contract that we lost. We weren't able to keep because
Mm,
they didn't know if I was
okay.
gonna live to sign for it.
Right.
And so, until we found another home and it was, we were getting ready to move in, nobody told me that she was getting another home, not that I
Yeah,
would have
right.
cared, I'd have been happy, but I think they didn't wanna, like, talk about it. But it
Mm,
was funny because I already kinda knew. It was just so that was the
interesting.
only thing I remember that
Wow.
she
Okay.
was having conversations about while I was out. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, well, I'd love to get into what was that experience of your first out of body experience? Did it feel like you were traveling through the spiritual realm, or were you going to heaven, or what? Tell us what that first one was like
Yeah.
and maybe your emotions around that.
Well, I had so many out of body. So the out of body so this is the difference. There's out of body, then there's spiritual transformative experiences, and there's near death experience. So OBE, STE, NDE. I didn't know even any of those existed until except near death experience till like 2 years before I found out there was so out of body, I can't tell you what my first one was because I was having so many of those, but I will tell you a funny thing. My bed, like mentally, I was coherent enough to understand that if my bed didn't come with me because my body was in it, I may not get it back. So me and my bed traveled everywhere together. And
Okay.
so I would go in the bed and then I would get out of the bed for my experiences.
Okay.
But I always went. So, and I ironically went to this town most of the time called Parowan, Utah, which is only like 15 minutes away from where I live right now. And I went to this house that I had been to before. We'd taken our kids to for a cousin's camp. The city owns it. It's a museum now. I knew it was some kind of a relative, but I wasn't sure until later. I did the research and it was my great, great, great grandfather's house. But there was a lot of like creepy stuff there too. So the difference between all those experiences, I can tell you exactly once I knew there was a word for it, I knew, oh, that was an out of body, that was a spiritual, this was a near death. But I also could tell you, "Oh, that was just a nightmare. Oh, that was just, like, me dreaming, weird dreams, drug dreams, whatever."
Right.
Because people just be like, "Oh, you're probably just on drugs, none of that even happened," and I'm thinking, "No, I could tell you." I mean, that's 5 different kinds of experiences. I could tell you what was what because they were so different. So yeah, that's so the out of body there yeah, there's okay, I'll tell you a creepy story.
Yes. I was just going to ask, what was the creepy
Oh,
part about
this
that?
was yeah, there was a lot of creepy stuff that happened over there in Parowan, and then I went and toured it. Okay, so I there was this staircase that kinda spiraled down to where you could look over because this is an old pioneer home, okay? 165-ish years old, I found out. Okay, that's what and they've remodeled it a couple times, but that original staircase is still there. Because I went there a couple years later, and I was, like, so creeped out because I was like, it's there still, you know? So you look down and you could see the floor. So it was spiral enough that you could see into the basement, and it had a dirt floor, and it still has a dirt floor. Interesting. And, at one time we heard they had a cow. A cow lived down there. I guess maybe so they can milk it? I don't know, whatever, just weird stuff, but I remember there being a bunch of broken glass, like, down there, and I remember looking down there going, "I'm not going down there," because it felt very dark, and I don't mean color, evil. And I was like, I don't know what went on down there, but I was like, felt like there was like science experiments. There was some crazy stuff. Okay. And so there was that. So when I saw the actual staircase after in real person, it kind of freaked me out. Um, so that was a weird one. And then another weird one I had there was I was in a room and it was like I never went forward in time. I always went back in time and a couple times I went present time, if that makes sense.
Yes.
But somehow I could freeze time. I don't even know how else to
Oh,
explain it than that.
interesting.
So, like, I knew this experience was gonna happen, and so I went, like, backwards, and I remember something was gonna fall in this room I was in, and there was a very dark person, coming in the room because I remember feeling him, like, here, like, breathing,
Mm,
and
wow.
I remember I counted 3, 2, 1, and then I knew whatever was gonna break and fall was gonna shatter, and so I'm like, oh, and it's here. I mean, if I passed that person on the street, I would know it's him. Like, I will never forget that face. Um, 'Cause I must have saw him again. Cause like I said, he was I don't know. I just know I saw him, but I could feel him here and I could feel him breathing it. So I went 3, 2, 1, and it broke, and I hear this in my ear, and I could feel him shaking his head, but I was just like, "Oh," so creeped out. So that was, like, one thing I'll never forget. It was just like who that guy was. I kinda think I know now, like, I've been able to put a lot of pieces together from
Okay.
all these experiences. I think it was an entity later in my near
Yeah.
death stuff I
Okay, that
experienced
makes sense.
crazy stuff. But um, my mom came to me for a spiritual one, and she had died about a year and a half before. She always came to my right side, and this she'd never spoke to me that I remembered, except now she did, and I was kind of having a little snotty moment, snotty, bratty child, when your mom comes to put you in check. It's kind of what it felt like because I was my cousin had, got a really spiritual experience and sent it in a text because she lived far away, and she wanted him to read it to me because I wasn't doing very well. So I remember one of my sisters reading it to me, and I remember thinking, "How lovely, like, that's so nice that she got that experience, good for her,"
Mhm.
and I was happy for her, but then they put me back in a coma, and then I was mad. I was so mad that she got that experience. I'm the one suffering. Why did she get that experience and I didn't? Like, I was having this really bratty moment. And I also, at that point, my prayers were really changing because before it was like, okay, I hope I get better.
Mhm.
I'm not planning on dying here, but by then it was like, this sucks. And it was kind of like, if you're not going to get me better, then get me out of here. I'm done. It was just like, ugh. So I was kind of having just that. Well, then my mom comes and she comes to my side and she said, it's not your time and you need to fight. And when she said the word fight, now I'm in my room and above my bed come all of these passed on ancestors wearing white, all white. And they're all above my bed. And, my grandparents and my aunt and uncle and my brother passed away and his wife in a bad car wreck. My grandbaby had just died 5 months before this experience of mine at 2 days, but she was an adult and I knew it was her, like to see her as a
Wow.
full adult.
Yeah.
And my grandparents all looked like younger than me. They looked great, but I knew it was them. And so they're all there and they start chanting, fight, fight, fight. And every time the word fight would get said, a whole new group of people would come behind them, now in street clothes. So I knew they were living people because my husband,
Mhm.
kids,
Yeah.
siblings, friends. And it just kept going back, back, back above my bed. I could just see thousands of people, all these people I didn't even recognize. And it was like such a defining moment. Now I think those people I didn't recognize, this is during COVID when we're hanging
Mhm.
onto social media.
Right.
I had friends
Yeah.
all over the world. That's the only way they knew if I was even alive still is the posts that my sisters would put on there. And I was on prayer lists everywhere.
Mm.
And I think those were the people I saw, all the people
Yeah.
praying for me
Right.
that I didn't recognize, and I thought, "Wow," and it was just that defining moment where this was the last experience that I remembered having, but it was like, "You're gonna live. You need to fight," and it was like, "Look at all these people that have your back. Look at all these people that are supporting you. How can you not fight?" And it was just like, gave me this new energy to live,
Mhm.
after that, so
Wow. And so did you have some more, like you talked about the dark, creepy ones? It sounds kind of like the accuser of the brethren was standing over your shoulder scolding you but was there some more cheerful, happy light, maybe with the Lord or something like that you encountered?
Yes, okay, so we should have talked about that first probably. Um
That's
That
okay.
was the near death experience. So
Okay.
so in that, I was leaving in my hospital bed again,
Okay.
um, because I was out of it a lot. Like, I remember I had a ex-brother-in-law. His brother was a couple doors down from me, and I remember standing outside his hospital room in one of my out of body, looking in, and he wasn't a healthy person. He was a smoker, which, detrimental with COVID. He had pulled his ventilator out a couple times.
Wow.
And I just remember standing outside the room, just knowing like he's not gonna make it. Like I knew he wasn't gonna make it. And being sad. Um, but the next time in the hallway was the near death, and I'm being rolled out in my bed, and they make you sign all these papers when they intubate you.
Okay.
I don't know if I had a DNR, do not resuscitate. I,
Interesting.
I really should find out because it'd be
Yeah.
easy to find out. I just haven't. I assumed I had one because I'm being rolled down the hallway and I'm shaking my finger at the nurse station telling him, "I rescind my DNR. I rescind my DNR." And I don't even know if I had one. But anyway, obviously I knew I was headed somewhere that maybe I didn't want to die. I don't know. But I remember saying that. And then I'm going down the hallway. And then all these down in the corridors, I could see all these other hallways. And as you kind of look down there, other beds are being rolled like me, which half the people in the hospital were dying at that time. We had the Delta version. It was fall of 21. And I think that they were other people dying. That's what I was seeing. So we end up getting to the end, and it's like a stadium. The only way I can explain it is like a football stadium, but the biggest one you'd have ever seen. And all of us got rolled into the sky boxes above because we were in beds. Then there's this like pause of time, and next thing I know, I'm out of my bed and I call it the stadium of light. And I've had other people tell me that have had near death. Oh, I've been to the stadium of light, which
Was
is
that
kind
right?
of cool to talk
Yeah,
to
it
someone
is.
else that you're like, you get it. And it was so, so bright in there, like almost fog bright, but you could see through it so clearly. Like all
Mm.
my senses were just on fire because I didn't have any senses in the bed. Like they tied my hands to the bed. They taste and smell were gone from COVID. I couldn't see who anyone was without correction with unless they were like 8 inches in front of my face. Plus they all had, yellow hat, mask, gloves, everything, eye protection. Everybody looked the same. And then the ventilator took like 90% of my hearing away. So, um, now I have like my senses are on fire and I could see and hear and feel and touch. And I mean, just everything was like so amplified. Um, and then I remember looking around and there are hundreds and thousands of people in this stadium, like hundreds of thousands, not just the thousands I saw in the praying for anything. This is like hundreds of thousands. And I remember looking and I could see feet. So I knew nobody was like on the ground. I was like, okay, I'm seeing feet. And then I was having like all of these there was never a negative moment, like where you would have a negative thought. It wasn't the place that existed. So everything was good. Everything was perfect. Everything was kind and loving and, joyful. Right. And the conversations were definitely to let that be because nobody was talking, but they were so fast. Like I would have an answer, like a question answer, like before I even finished the question in my head, I already knew. Like it was like the gift of all knowing. And then all of a sudden I hear all four sides around me. I hear music, and it was like the most angelic sound I had ever heard. And I knew the words to all the songs, but I had never heard them before.
Hmm.
So like maybe that gift of, knowing so quickly. So I love to sing. And so I sang into this choir of angels
Yeah.
and participated. And then the next thing I know, I'm having a life review, but I'm only seeing good. I'm not
Makes sense.
questioning it at that point because you
Right?
don't have a negative thought. But
Yeah.
later I'm thinking, I've done plenty of naughty stuff. Like, why am I only seeing the good? Which I did find out that answer later. And I was reviewing that, and then I wasn't given the choice to come back or stay. I was sent back. And I was sent back with two things specifically said to me. So the day I found out I had COVID, I had pitched a company of 9 people on a Zoom for a tech company that I was starting, and I knew the guy that owned the company, and he had partnered with this other guy, which everyone would know the name if I said it, that was a billionaire. So it had a billionaire backing him, and I'm thinking, "This is gonna be awesome." I was so excited. I was told not to partner with them, that that wasn't the highest and best thing to do. It needed to stay mine and to not do that. And then I was told to start this nonprofit called Adventure Bucket Wish, but I wasn't given the mission, only the name. And then next thing I know, I'm back in my, painful, horrible, sickly body. And I'm telling my sister, she was there, and I was still on the ventilator, but I guess I was doing a lot better. And so she had ran an errand and come back, and she said, she went and got the alphabet that I had to point at to spell anything
Mm-hmm.
out, 'cause I couldn't talk, which took sometimes long, long time, she said, to
Yep.
spell out a word. And I started spelling KID. "Oh, do you need me to tell your kids something for you?" And no, that wasn't it. NAP. And she's like, "When you spelled kidnap," she goes, "First, I wanted to grab the garbage can and throw up because I thought they were so protective over me." And she's like, "You were doing good. I just ran an errand. What happened while I was gone?" And she says, "As soon as you communicated that to me, the nurse and the doctor walked in to extubate you. And when they took it out, because I was doing better, she said, you could talk, not very well, but she goes, you had a lot to say."
Wow.
And there were still some spirits in the room. Quickly, I realized I was the only one that could see them. I wasn't afraid of them, but I never could figure out, like, why am I saying I got kidnapped? Like, why is that? That's a negative, right? I didn't find out for 2 years after that. I got kind of the rest of the story, but, I always just kinda wondered that, and so immediately it was a long journey back, but immediately I started working on the 2 things I was told to do, and
Right.
within 4 months had both of them incorporated, and anyway, that was kinda that part of that
Wow.
story.
That's powerful. And so I get the light because the Bible talks about how Christ is the light of heaven and it's such pure light there's no shadows. So that sounds really cool about talking about that stadium of life and the angelic music and all of that. But can you get into that why there was no negative in your life review?
Yeah. It was pretty cool actually. So 2 years later, first of all, I incorporated the companies within like 4 months, and then I started this I call it my 2 years of hell. Like the worst days of my life ever, probably ever again, because I would handle things differently now. A bunch of lessons I needed to learn apparently, but when I was in it, I was praying every day that I would have died. I was like, why on earth am I alive? Like, why? It was horrible, horrible. And how I explain it is take every bad day you've ever had, times it by 100. That's how heavy everything felt every day of what I was going through. So as I was coming out of that at the end of the 2 years, I went to IANS, which is International Association for Near Death Studies. It was they just had last year their 50th anniversary, so this is like 4 years ago. That's when I found out, or 3 years ago, I found out about the STE, OBE, NDE is going there. So I was just coming out of this big dark place and depression and everything, and I went to a friend of mine, and he's a mentor coach, and he trained me in hypnosis. So I had been trained in it. So I was not afraid of it. I
Okay.
understood the process. And I
Yeah.
said, "Hey, I'm working on my book and I feel like out of integrity. I know I can remember the out of body, I can remember the spiritual, but there's some gaps to the story in my near death. And I'm just wondering if maybe if we did a hypnosis session, I'd remember some of those." So he agreed to do that. So we went and did that. And kind of it's kind of a long story, but I'll kind of give you the overview. So we didn't end up in the Stadium of Light until the end. So remember where I said when I left my hospital bed and I went
Mhm.
before I got like to the Stadium of Light, there was this pause of time. It was like this just this space. So that's where I believe that I was taken by an entity actually, because where he took me was I call it the in between. It wasn't dark and it wasn't light. Dark was on the right side, light was on the left side. Um, we ended up there was do you remember the fog I was talking about?
Yes, that's
Well,
yeah.
in the in between, it's like weird colors, like I can't even explain, like cobalt blue is silver and gray and black, and they're swirling around. But they would swirl around, and then the matter would like form a heart, and the heart would float to the left, which was the light. And I remember thinking, even in the dark, it's attracted to the light, you know?
Yeah.
And so that happened. And then we were able to realize there was an entity there. And in hypnosis, you can speak to people. Like you can, if you're having a problem with someone, it's just a
Okay.
process that they use. So we spoke to this guy. His name's Darby, which is weird because I'd never heard that name that I'd remembered. And 3 times in the next month, I heard it in different contexts. So we talked to Darby. Darby said he couldn't go to the light, um, couldn't have the light. So he wanted mine. So he took it. He took me. And so they did this whole banter thing, and I remember I wasn't afraid of Darby. I didn't feel like he had light because he couldn't have any, obviously, but I didn't feel like he was evil. I feel like he was sad. Like he wanted the light and he couldn't have it. So um ultimately the light started coming from the left, like that stadium of light.
Okay.
And Darby said, the light's coming to get her and I'm not going to be able to stop it. And so my friend said, then let her go. That's not yours. You stole it. You need to give it back. So ultimately, he lets me go. Then I see this tree, and this tree gave me so much peace, especially after that 2 years, because when I was told that company not to partner with the billionaire, when I was incorporating and doing some marketing and doing the branding for that company, I knew that the logo needed to be a tree, have a tree in it somewhere. I knew that. And I didn't know why, and nobody questioned it. And so when I get it back, the tree has 11 leaves and 11 roots on it, which is 1 1 1 1.
Yeah.
Very significant to the story, day I got out of the hospital. So obviously the day I launched my book. Even my birthday's 1 1. There was just like so many things around that. And I saw it and I was like, it was like, I feel like I call them God gifts. I feel like it was God saying to me, you did what you were supposed to. You went and listened, you did what you're supposed to. The tree is just confirmation this was part of your story and you didn't even remember it. So then I get over to the light side, and I was told, remember in the nonprofit, I was given the name, but not the mission. That's a whole nother story. But when we did our gala, each little gift bag that I gave everybody, I knew had to have a pink rose quartz heart in it. And when I get over there, all that matter now turned into that light again. But then all of a sudden it was pink and they were pink hearts. And that's what I put in the bag. And I was like, it was like this confirmation saying the 2 things I asked you to do, you did, you know, and here they are. So then I'm going to my life review. Now, of course, I'm in the hypnosis session. I'm going to ask,
Yeah. Right.
where's all the bad? I kind of had the kidnap thing answered because I believe Darby is the one that took me. That's why I felt kidnapped.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so there was that piece that was put together, the tree, the hearts, and then the life. And I remember I didn't ever see God, but he spoke to me so clear. And he said, I said, why am I only seeing the good? And he said, I'm showing you the good because that's what matters. And I just thought, oh my gosh, what a God of love. So then he said, I'm going to give you a message. I think if I would have had that message, my 2 years of the hell wouldn't have happened. It would have shifted everything about it.
Mm-hmm.
I know I needed those lessons for future philanthropy, but this was a message. He said, love them where they're at. And I thought, oh, I mean, that really does take the judgment away and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And Um, I was also told more will be revealed to you when the time is right, because I'm just that type that wants to know everything right
Yes.
now. But
Right.
in this circumstance, that brought me peace. I was like, I don't think I could handle everything I would have been told and seen. And even things have happened since then that I've put pieces together. And I'm like, well, I'm kind of glad I'm finding that out now and that I didn't have to deal with all that at one
Right.
time 'cause it's a lot. Um,
Well,
yeah.
and
Anyway.
certainly, Yeah, our creator knows what we can handle and what we can't. And as you were talking, I don't know if you've come across the book called Visions Beyond the Veil, written by H.A. Baker.
Okay.
Fascinating. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll put it in the show notes for you so you can go find it. Because they've got some very similar things to what you're describing,
Interesting.
from these children that would have these heavenly visitations. And, you know, when you think about like the life of Jesus Christ and how he would say, everyone can come to me. Like, I don't turn anyone away. And then his death and his resurrection and all that wrath that was poured out on Christ. Then all of a sudden we realize, like you were told, hey, that stuff doesn't matter. It's gone. It's like in the sea of forgetfulness. And I'm sure that it has changed your perspective, maybe even in hiring or who you do business with. Can you talk a little bit about that? Maybe how you view kind of your fellow humans that you come across?
Yeah. Well, it took the judgment away of things, and I remind myself daily because I am not perfect. Just you can't help who people are, and you just love them where they are. That's just where they are. You can't change that. For me, I never had that I felt purpose. I never felt like my whole
Okay.
life I had a purpose, and it was like I feel like I was handed this life Bible with the ending written, and I have to go fill in the in-between pages for everything I'm supposed to do, that now my life became what I'm supposed to do, a calling, which is so different. That I mean, and I also say, and I've been saying this a lot lately, but I feel like people listening need to hear this. My purpose I knew was way big. Like I knew it was international, world, global, right? Things that I needed to change. If someone's sitting listening to this today, I want to say, especially a woman, because I feel like women are harder on themselves than men most of the time. Um, and you feel like you don't not only don't feel like you have a purpose, or that it's a waste of a purpose, or it's not a big enough purpose, or why is this only my purpose? What if you're a stay-at-home mom, okay, and you're raising children right now? What if you're raising the next president of the United States? How big did your purpose just become of what you need to create? And I think we discredit purpose, and we think it's not good enough, and we're not good enough, and it's not a big enough purpose. And it's like, no, that's your purpose. That's what makes it big. It's for you. And what are you going to do about it? And how can you make it? You can make it bigger, as big as you want, right? But don't second guess what it is when you know it's a calling.
Hmm. Yeah, because we were created by a creator to be creators. And, you know, if a husband and wife, a man and woman coming together can actually create another human being, just imagine what else we're all capable of,
Yeah.
in all of that. And that whole spark of life that comes when that sperm hits that egg, and it's just an unexplainable. People say, I don't know why there's a spark there, but I'm pretty sure we can all figure out why
Yeah.
that spark of life is there. Now, going back to the hospital experience that you had, I want to it's interesting to hear other people's experiences of what they encountered. We had a former member of the Marine Corps on talking about some of his near-death experiences, and one where he was out of his body looking down at himself on the gurney, and just all this rage and anger
Mm.
coming out of him because the doctors were giving up on him, and he was just so angry that he was being given up on. And his story is that another doctor comes in and says, no, we can save this guy, and gives him a trach and his anyway. People have to go go find that other one in our back catalog. But did you have some? You explained the relative, the smoker dude that was down the hall from you, but was there some other interactions maybe you had with spirits or people's on that spiritual plane in the hospital?
Yeah. I never remember like being above looking at my bed. I remember being like at like level to my bed,
Okay.
like being able to watch things going on. And I don't remember being above. It was like, which I feel like it's more of an out of body
Okay.
experience,
Yeah.
I
Right.
feel like that. Um, Nothing that like I'll get little flashbacks and I'll be like, what is that? And then it's gone. And I feel
Hmm.
like that's part of my more will be revealed to you when the time is right. You don't have to
Yeah.
know everything right now. And it's just that trust, that, yeah, okay. Cause I feel like I got a lot of experiences in that
Mm.
3.5 weeks, cause sometimes I'll listen to people's stories and I'll be like, dang, you got a lot more than I did. And other times I'm like, that's
Right.
all you got.
Uh, Yeah, it's very interesting to talk to people, even the nurses, hospice nurses, or other people like that who
Yeah.
would say, "Oh, this very uncongenial man was talking about why are there's all these flies in the room as he's on his way out," and it I it sounds to me like dreams and what you're describing of the different experiences have some commonalities and some similarities, and I wanted to read Job chapter 33, 14 to 18. It says, "For God does speak now one way and now another, though no one perceives it, in a dream and a vision of the night, when deep sleep falls on people as they slumber in their beds. He may speak to their ears and terrify them with warnings to turn them from wrongdoing and keep them from pride, to preserve them from the pit and their lives from perishing by the sword."
Mm.
And,
Oh,
so I was thinking of that little reference as you were talking. The other thing that I'm trying not to monopolize the conversation, but this is just really good information. And, there's a scripture verse in the Bible that talks about one day we will fully know as we are fully known. And as you were talking about that experience of you just knew things and you had that telepathy communication, just is there anything else that you would be able to say about that experience in that fog of light?
yeah. Well, I compare it like I had prior to this all happening. I always felt like one of my gifts were the gift of knowing. I don't think
Okay.
of it as a psychic thing. I think
Mhm.
of when someone says to you, "How do you know that?" And you're like, "I
Mhm.
don't know. I just know." Like
Yeah.
that's a gift of knowing. You're just certain of things without having to see proof. You just know. The gift of all knowing, how I would say it, is that it's like everything's revealed to you immediately. Like if you have a question, you already had the answer. It's like you don't just all of a sudden, because I felt like it was coming, it was coming so fast, but I didn't feel overwhelmed or anything. I just, like I said, you don't feel anything negative. There's just like you don't even know what that feeling is there because it's not. It's like it's not allowed. you
Yeah,
know,
right. Wow,
right?
can you yeah, just imagine that, the Stadium of Light social media feed would be like, "Wow, this is great. Oh, look what happened to him. Oh, that's wonderful."
Right. So no, let's not tear them down. Let's build everybody up.
Yes, Bill, and really,
Yeah.
that's God's intention for everyone is for us to be fruitful and multiply and to have abundance and no stealing, killing, and destroying. Wow.
Yeah.
And so now that you're years out from that and you've been building your business or businesses rather, and sounds like you're building up people too. What are some of those things that have been like hard and fast rules? We talked about the no judging, but I'm sure there's some things maybe that have made you perhaps more successful or more caring.
Yeah, I think so. I think when you take judgment out of the equation, because we all just tend to naturally have that. And not saying I'm cured. Trust me, I still remind myself love them where they're at every
Yes.
single day.
Wow.
Because you get those negative thoughts, and I just try to like focus on the good and focus on being kind and making good choices. And when I was writing my book last fall, I didn't have a spiritual book yet, and it's the biggest one I had written, and I knew it had to have a spiritual aspect to it, and I knew it needed to have personal development because I'm all about that. I wouldn't have lived if I wouldn't have had the personal development behind me. I wouldn't have made it because it's a mindset. I mean, when you're in that space in the hospital, it's a mindset for sure.
Yeah.
So a lot of reasons that, I lived, but I feel like when I was gifted the idea to start the International Retreat Association, this was just why I was writing my book last year. It was a new idea. I didn't want another company. It was my 12th startup company. I was not looking for that at all. I was a little discouraged at first till I went down the rabbit hole, realized 2 to 3 million estimated retreat leaders. There's not an association for them to belong to. The thing that's great about the retreat industry is it's people that want transformation. That you're always going to a retreat for some kind of transformation, even if it's just a girls' trip or a vacation or whatever you're going for that reason. People are looking and they're craving for transformation. And so these retreat leaders, I feel like it's a very big responsibility for you to deliver not only what you say you're going to deliver, but something and some content and some kind of transformation that's going to change people's lives. So then I think about, oh my gosh, it's a spiritual calling. I'm creating something that doesn't exist, which I love. I'm creating it for the whole world to go have transformational experiences. I mean, win, 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 win. That's what it's about for me. And so, but I also selfishly, to be honest, my why is the philanthropy work that I'm going to do in the future. I've never been motivated by money in that sense. And I know to do the philanthropy work I have to make a buttload of it because I want to be a check writer. I don't want to live in the ick that I lived in those 2 years. I already saw all that. I don't need to be there again to write checks to help good and do good. But to write checks, you have to create, abundance. And so I feel like everything is just like being weaved in when the time is right. More is being revealed. And this is where I'm at now. And 5 years from now, I have a whole nother plan, right?
Yeah.
And then you help people along the way. And it's just, I feel like the doors just keep getting blown open of what's next and then what's next. And then not that there's not hard days and not that I don't get health setbacks with long COVID, like all that's still there. And you look at it differently. I feel like everything I look at and the whole shift is surrender, hope, intuition, faith, and transformation. That was a spiritual gift given to me about my own shift. And now how can I help other people have
Mm.
theirs?
Yeah. Wow, wonderful. Well, ladies and gentlemen, as we continue through this conversation, we do have a comment section, and we love to read your comments and hear your thoughts. And perhaps maybe you've had one of the experiences similar to what Holly's describing. We'd love to hear from you. And of course, I know we're all inundated with messages. So here's the comment section is an opportunity for you to kind of type in there and unload a little bit. And you're not getting a message, you get to send one. And Holly, something else that we need to talk about is how people can get in touch with you.
Sure. If you have show notes, I have a link tree link that will
Okay,
give
good.
you social media, email, book links, anything you want.
So make sure that it's there so people can get
Sure.
in touch with your work. Now, this was a massive transformation over a number of years. And I'm pretty sure you were a victim of that hustle and pressure ethos that is so much around us.
Yeah.
What did that convert into after this process?
Well, I really believe that God put me in that coma many days to slow down so I would listen. Like I was in that space where it's just, in the grind every day and push, push, push. And so I wasn't listening for my next steps. So I've had a lot of people tell me that too, which is interesting. So I feel like that happened for first of all. Second of all, I feel like some of my relapses that I'm getting with my health and with the long COVID, I get a pretty good one every year consistently, unfortunately, for 6 to 11 weeks. It just depends on the year. And I feel like it's almost like that setback again to make me remember the why,
Yeah,
remember the
right.
purpose, remember, okay, you're kind of off track. So maybe we need a little bit of health setback. I mean, it stinks, honestly, but it's
Yeah.
like this year when it happened, um, I did some different things for my health and I think I threw myself right into one, and those setbacks are tough, but you know what? They just make you come back stronger and learn more of what you need to learn. I've been told it takes people with near-death experiences up to 10 years to unravel everything, and it's not even been 5. So that excites me actually. It's like,
Yeah.
what else am I gonna get to know and what
Right.
else? And they've been weird places that I've figured out things. Like I was writing my book, um, when I remembered something and the ones I was working with was my editor who knew the story very well and my husband. And I went running down to tell my husband first and then I called her and I was just like, oh, do you remember this? Do you remember that? And we didn't end up putting that in the book because we were editing at that point and it was so fresh and I was just like, It's okay. It's not like a story, changer or whatever, but it just was kind of neat to go, yeah, more will be revealed to you when the time is right. And I
Right.
think everybody can live by that, that when you're supposed to know something, you're going to know it. And the other message that I feel like I got was, I told myself every day when I was so sick, better's better was my motto. And it was like, what can I do today to be better than I was yesterday? And that was because I was so sick. But now that I'm not that sick, it's like, what can I do today to be better than I was yesterday? Who can I
Mm,
serve
yeah.
today to help their life, And I think if we just all kind of have that um drive, to serve, it just makes such a difference in our lives.
Yes. And so then, oftentimes with success and high achievement and those personalities of people, ego can be a part of it. Um, did you learn a little bit about humility and maybe it probably fits with love people where you're at. We have to love ourselves where we're
Yeah.
at.
Yes, I usually do say that, and I'm glad you brought it up. That's where it starts. It really does. And, even with this International Retreat Association company, if I'm not the right CEO in a year from now, my ego is not attached to it. I see the bigger picture, the bigger why. If my skill set's not the right, I'm okay to let it go. I'm okay to just be part of the whole bigger plan. It's like it was the idea was a gift. I mean, why on earth did nobody else do it? I think God gives thousands, maybe tens of thousands of people the same idea and they don't take action. And I've been told by many people that I've been interviewing in this company, yeah, I've kind of thought about that. I thought, wonder why we didn't have that. I thought about doing it. I'm like, why didn't you? Like, it baffles me that it's like, it also makes me grateful that I was given the idea because I feel like I have integrity and I wanna do it right, and I have the right heart about it, and so it's like, "Okay, maybe I was the one," you know?
Yes, absolutely. And there has been stories from other spiritual leaders. I'm not sure if it was with Walt Disney as well, but what you're saying right now reminds me of this Christian leader from the States, and he had been given this vision by God and he thought it was unique to him. And he's walking through this field that he wants to buy and put this big institution, university on it, and he's like, wow, thanks. Like, how come nobody else has done this? And he said, "You were not my first choice. You're just the first one that said yes."
I believe that's true.
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely. So now one of the things that we talk about here on 5 a.m. podcast, of course, is spiritual things and intuition being one of those tools that we can have
yeah.
after. If you compare yourself before and after, how much more does intuition and maybe that spiritual investigation into things, how much more of it is part of your decision making process than it was before?
Yeah, I feel like it's a little bit easier. The decisions are coming a little easier because I'm on purpose serving my
Mhm.
purpose. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
And I
absolutely.
think it's like that makes everything flow, when
Hmm.
you're doing that. Because I feel like, yeah, I don't second guess. I mean, I didn't before either. I always had a lot of intuition and discernment to things. Definitely turned up, but that's intuition's part of my shift word, right? That's
Yeah,
right in
right.
there. And I think a lot of people think, "Oh, I just don't have it." Yes, you do. You just haven't tapped into it. You haven't listened. I mean, have you ever had a gut feeling where something's off?
Hmm,
That's your intuition.
that's right.
It's we all have it.
Yeah, and being able to listen to that. And
Yeah.
um, I learned some of this at a very young age. And at the county fair, there would be this crown and anchor wheel that they would spin, and I always had this sense to put my quarter on this particular, it was one of the card suits. on the
Yeah.
wheel, and my friends would be like, "Wow, this is amazing." But if I did it with more than a quarter, my intuition was way off. So it wasn't for me to get rich. It was for me to, build this spiritual connection. And one of my friends was like, "Michael, you win all the time." And I got to talk to him about that spiritual knowing and the communication with the Lord and our creator. But as soon as I made it about money, and I'm like, "Oh, my intuition is that it's going to be anchors. I'm going to put, like, how much change do I have? I got $5 here." And of course, all of it goes away because that's not the purpose.
Yeah. That's so true. Well, gotta stay humble, I guess.
Yeah, that's right. And it's not just about us in it. It's about who we're ministering to or speaking to or coming alongside. Now, as let's talk about the Adventure Bucket Wish Foundation, your
Yeah.
nonprofit that focuses heavily on empowering the women folk among us to lead with purpose, passion, and presence. Why was it vital for you that this foundation specifically targeted resilience in women?
Yeah. Well, it didn't start out there. So
Okay.
I was given the name in my near death experience. I was not given the mission. So when I got out of the hospital and I had long COVID and I was suffering so much still and so sick for so long, that's what I decided the mission was going to serve was long COVID sufferers. And that worked out fine until about 2.5 years in. I knew about 6 months before, about 2 years in, I knew something wasn't right. Something was off, but I didn't know what, and so I took all the fundraisers off the table that year, and I did have a podcast, and all my guests were people with long COVID, the caretakers, medical professionals, or holistic professions. That's it. That's those 4 guests. And one day I'm doing the podcast, I just said, "Let me just keep doing the podcast till I know why." And, I'm doing the podcast, and all of a sudden, I started reliving my COVID experience. The girl's telling her story, and I'm reliving mine, and I'm like, can't breathe, feel like I have an elephant on my chest. I was like, "What is happening?" And all of a sudden, I get this download so clear that said, "This is not your mission anymore, and this is your last podcast." With that mission. And I actually was so excited. I closed down all the accounts that day. I was done. I was like, okay. But then I went into this grief of why would God tell me to do this and then take it away? Like, I was like, what?
Mhm.
So one of my board members, she's very spiritual. And she reminded me, she said, if I remember right, you were given the name, but not the mission. And
Mhm.
I was like, "Oh, you're right." And she goes, "Well, we're in year 3, which is kind of a big deal for a nonprofit, 501(c)(3). She said, "So keep the name, change the mission." So then she's like, "What will light you up?" And I think it was me going backwards. I mean, like all your Facebook groups and things that were for long COVID, like I was struggling to get guests on my podcast, but there's 100,000 or 100 million people suffering. And I'm thinking, the 100 million people suffering, why am I having it was just this like fight. And so I said, well, I gain purpose. So we decided to have it help women, with resilience and fighting purpose. Well, just in the last couple months, by the way, we have decided we were going to keep, the name and just do DBA because it wasn't matching what we were evolving into, especially with the association, with the retreats and everything. So our board met just about a month ago and we decided we'll do a DBA and we'll call it Rebel Women, which is RBL for
Nice.
Rebel, and it's Rise, Build, Lead. And we'll
Cool.
create this whole program for women around resilience and finding their purpose and all this stuff. And then I've sat on it since then and I decided I think it's time to let Adventure Bucket Wish go. I feel like it served its purpose and now we've grown into something bigger. I've got a new mission and it's okay. Like I'm not depressed about it. I feel like so we're going to let that one go. We're going to switch everything to RBL Women, which is Rebel Women.
Nice.
And
That's good.
yeah, kind of the story. So it's just like being open and listening and
Hmm.
more will be
Yeah.
revealed to you when the time is
Yeah.
right.
Right. And if our hands are full with something, but there's something new that God has for us to pioneer or push through, we have to empty our hands so that we have room for the new that's coming. And that leads me to my next question. If there's a listener out there, maybe they're walking through their own valley of the shadow of death, and it might be a health crisis, it could be a business bankruptcy, a personal loss. What is that first step to turning that raw trauma into a transformative mission?
Okay, that's an easy answer. I feel like check, 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 and check. When you're saying
Yeah.
all that, been there, done that. So I feel like it's really realizing you're stronger than you believe. You can do this. You can do hard things. What are the lessons that you need to learn out of that? When I was going through my 2 years of hell, the one question I wish I would have asked myself that I'm thinking of now, looking back, but when you're in it, you're in it, right? So if you're in it right now, I get it. How, like, what do I need to learn from this experience to get through it faster? Because 2 years was unacceptable to me. It was long. I cried every day, and I'm not a crier. It just made me everything I'm not. And so I would say that, like, what is it I need to know? What is it I need to learn? If it's praying to God and saying that, like, reveal to me what it is so we can get through this and we can get here faster, because the power of prayer is like no other. And
Yeah.
there's no shame in asking for prayers from people. Like, they don't
Hmm.
have to know your problems and your challenges that you're having. They just need to be asked. Sometimes we just have to ask, will you pray for me? I love when people say, will you keep me in your prayers? Like, the fact that they believe in the power of prayer
Hmm.
alone is going to get them through it faster. So don't feel like no one needs to know your problems. I mean, if you want them to, that's fine. But I'm just saying, just
Hmm.
ask for help, because no one does it alone. And the first word in my book and Shift is surrender. And everybody has to surrender at some point to get transformation.
Yes. Yeah. If we want to experience the kingdom of God, we have to understand it's his kingdom. He gets to sit on the throne. And sometimes we're clamoring, picking a number to see, is it my turn yet? Can I sit on there? But yeah, such is life. So, Holly, what an incredible conversation, and a reminder that our greatest setbacks can truly be something that's a setup for an ultimate transformation. So, thank you so much for being on the
Thank
5am
you.
podcast.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
It's been wonderful. As we were talking, I was thinking of that children's song, She'll Be Coming Round the Mountain When She Comes. That's like a tale as old as time. They even had children talk about, if you don't
Yeah.
fix your problems, you're just going around that mountain again. So, man, thanks for bringing your light and your love to our conversation. It's been really good.
Thank you.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, as you're listening, please don't let this inspiration just sit there. Let it roll around and I don't know, ferment maybe, turn into something more delicious with all that good sugar that we've been talking about. So go take some action. If you want to dive deeper into Holly's world, you can grab a copy of her game-changing book, Near Death Shift: What Dying Taught Me About Life, Business, and Purpose. You can find that at neardeathshift.com. We'll also have the Linktree link and all those other good things in the description. So be sure to root around in all of that text that you find on Spotify or YouTube, wherever you're listening. So you can also grab your free copy of The Success Vault, your one-stop life and business resource guide. Check out how you can support or get involved with Holly and the incredible work that she is doing. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for being here. Remember, when we seize our days, we seize our future. Please get out there and enjoy those sunrises and sunsets and all those beautiful adventures in between. I'm Michael Klassen, and I will see you on the next 5am podcast. Thanks for watching the show. Just a reminder that you can get all of our resources, other episodes, and read our blog posts at 5ampodcast.com.